So, the Chippy-Doo, right. So I'm here with Malachy and we're on Buchanan Street, and it's, like 8:30?
10 to 9.
Something, so this is what you do, yeah?
Yep, so we're parked here, kind of Buchanan Street, usually quite early. I unload my my road cases, which contain all my busking gear, and then I pull that out of my van. I lock that to the outside of my van, put it on display so everyone knows that I have the spot, and then I hop back in my van, usually for...
Claimed your state.
Yeah, we usually just then hop back in the van for a nap, and while everyone else... I'll be parked here, and everyone's on their like morning commute all around the van, and I'm just snoozing in the back. Like,
we're really warm here, and it's a pretty nippy but very bright, clear day outside, and I think it's going to be a lovely day for busking for Malachy. So this is going to be the first episode of Sam Lou Uncased, which is my series of podcasts on contemporary songwriting practices and production, thinking about artists that are beating to their own drums, so doing it their own way. So it's perfect to have Mal today to do this. So we're just going to talk about a few things, and shall we kick off with your philosophy?
Yeah. So I'm not too sure.
That's putting you on the spot.
Wait, which philosophy? The Celtic one?
Let's come back to the Celt one.
Oh,
yeah.
right, okay. As opposed to just doing what you fucking want.
that's it.
So not too sure where I heard it or how I heard it, but it's been with me a while. I saw a saying once, an idiom or a maxim, and it said, "To see much, study much, and suffer much." And I guess that was as a recipe for life, as a recipe for good living, I think. Anyway. So and also kind of in a way, like doing that, like seeing much, studying much, and suffering much is kind of what ties in with busking. It's like you live at an accelerated rate. You meet, like, as opposed to kind of if you were kind of staying in one city the whole time, and in the kind of in staying in the same social network, and staying in the kind of in the same house or home or whatever. Like with busking, I'm not doing any of that, and I'm constantly it's a crash course, literally an unending crash course in just finding out who you are. And I think that's the being busking and stuff like that. It's wonderful in regards to music and that, and seeing things, but just for the wealth it offers me and knowledge about myself is it's invaluable.
And so you're here in Glasgow, and how long will you be here for?
I never really know how long I'm going to be in a city. I never really like trying to put a time on it, kind of thing, because any time I do it usually doesn't end up working anyway. I'm never really concerned either with how long I'll be. I will be heading back to Australia at some point mid-December. But like and the thing is, like doing what I do, it doesn't particularly change too much depending on the city I'm in. So I could be doing the exact same thing in Leeds, down in Brighton, or down in Avignon, or like Biarritz or anything like that. It's more or less the same for me. But I think it's everyone else is always very concerned with how long you're staying in a spot and where you're going next and stuff like that. But I imagine I'm playing a show here on the 20th of October, and I'd imagine that'd be about then time for me to move on from Glasgow after that.
And that's at Stereo, isn't it? So
Yep.
If you want to see you, get tickets for that. It will be interesting to see you in an intimate gig as opposed to on the street. I was thinking about that.
It's so wonderful.
How's it different?
It's mainly different because on the street and stuff like that, just the audio experience. I have two pretty nice amplifiers when I'm playing on the street, but it's just you cannot you can't you can't explain the difference when you have 200 watts on the street here with loud ambient noise and distractions and stuff like that, as opposed to when you have a 10,000 watt PA, very good PA system too, and you have a dark room with the sound engineer taking care of all the, making sure he's all of the frequencies I'm putting out are delivered as best as I can, and people are a little bit looser. They're a bit, they've had a couple of drinks or whatever, and they're more excited, and everyone is there, and it's the mentality and the energy of the audience. On the street, no one's technically. People have spare time, whereas and they're just kind of hot, like kind of pottering about. They've heard something that they like, or they're just kind of interested. You're waiting for a friend that said, "Oh fuck it, I'll just wait in front of this bloke,"
or they're drawn in.
Yeah, for sure. But whenever you get to whenever you're at a show, whenever you're at a live music performance, everyone is there with that in mind. Everyone's kind of done the work for you. They've already offered themselves up. You just need to do the thing, and they'll love it. But it's also from my perspective too, like constantly playing on the street, dealing with lots and lots of nice people, but also dealing with lots and lots of fucking idiots. To play a show where I can hear my sound as it's meant to be heard, like with a full range of frequency, like especially in the low end, especially the bass, and hearing everything put out as the way it should is an immensely recorrecting feeling, like in regard for just my own self-esteem and stuff like that. You always feel so wonderful after playing a show and giving that kind of atmosphere to people, and it charges you up enough to kind of put you through the kind of the slogging of the street work then for however many weeks.
And it is that more intimate connection, isn't it, within an audience?
Yeah, entirely.
Do you have like a different song repertoire when you gig?
It depends what I'm feeling like. It's like the songs that do well on the street are always played, because they're the ones that it's like, oh, I heard that tune, I want to hear that one again, because it's kind of like, it's almost the street is like a showcase thing, and then I play those same songs at the show so people can really hear what they're meant to sound like, unlimited by noise, volume levels and stuff like that.
So your sleazy blues tune, as you describe it, Stay, is a lovely tune. I think that was the first one that I heard.
You would have heard Morning Light. I don't play Stay on the street.
Oh, really? Okay.
It depends. Like perhaps in Edinburgh, maybe, but perhaps
it's on YouTube then.
Maybe it is. Yeah. But I just don't play that. Morning Light isn't. Stay is hang on.
Yeah, maybe that's off the YouTube then.
Because Stay is just like if I want someone to complain, I just play that song. It's not even it won't necessarily be any louder, or than like in regards to decibel volume.
Well, it's a really raunchy tune anyway. I really love those two tunes. So where did they come from then?
That's Stay.
Yeah.
Whereas,
it's just something
so
really
Morning Light is the one and even then Stay is just a bit more rock, whereas Morning Light's raunchy. Like it. That's really like
What are your influences there? I think you probably get the
John Lee Hooker.
Yeah.
John Lee Hooker. I just love like he's got this song called Highway 13, and it's about 8 minutes long, and it's just him talking about how he was on Highway 13 looking for his baby, and it was raining.
And that's it.
And that's
that's
it. Yeah, but it's just like.
And what's the structure of that song?
It's just like, I'm on Highway 13, looking for my baby. It's raining, could barely hold my little Ford in the road. Highway 13, looking for my baby. Like, but it's just I like you know, as much as I enjoy, I have music is interesting with me. I've never really felt like terribly like committed to one kind of genre. You know, and to be honest, if I'm playing one kind of genre, like it just gets fucking it's a bit tedious after a while. If I'm perhaps playing kind of I really enjoy the likes of John Martin, that kind of early 70s, that big folk movement that occurred, like post Dylan. For some reason, I've tried many times to get into Dylan, and it just doesn't really resonate with me. But the kind of the Rolling Stone, pardon the pun, that he kind of like set off, that a lot of that really resonated with me. So Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, all that kind of thing like that, really does. Yeah. But the thing is, after listening for that for a while, I get a little bit frustrated or something. Like I don't know, perhaps I'm a bit more. There's a bit more anger or something in my person. I don't know, but I also really like hard rock, like Zeppelin and stuff like that. And I liked, and I think a lot of people will like, some musicians will play a very, not necessarily like quite a specific kind of category of music, but will listen to others. But I like to play. I really like playing all the different kinds of music that I like too. So just as much as you would hear myself play kind of, I guess, more or less kind of considered academic folk or something, you know, like kind of thing, like dealing with quite kind of philosophical kind of ideas and that. I also just really like what I would best describe as just fucking bogan rock, and I guess a bogan is a term for a member in this for like someone in Australia that likes to do burnouts in their car and probably has a couple of missing teeth. And you know,
is that where you're headed?
Probably, yeah. Who the fuck knows, hey? Who the fuck knows? See this fucking wanker coming up 12 o'clock with his fucking Tesco bag. Every morning he's got fucking shit to say to me.
Well, we've got a Tufnell's Parcels Express. Tufnell's, you know, famous throughout Scotland. I went on an arts residency, and when I got into the room, there was a Tufnell's marshmallow thing placed on the bed, and it was a gift. So I think they own quite a lot of land property. Yeah. I think I was thinking John Butler Trio. I bet you get that a lot. Hatfits, and I thought
I don't see the John Butler thing.
You don't see it.
I don't play. I don't. If you, I can understand why people
maybe it's an aesthetic thing.
Yeah, it's more aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's the fact that I've got a beat up guitar. I've got, you know, like and now like the way John Butler plays is he plays like almost predominantly in open tuning, so that anyone playing in open tuning just sounds like him now, because he is so wonderful and he's been so successful and stuff like that. He's almost putting like, you know.
There's something about Ocean, so say, though, that is, you know, the instrumental that you can find online. John Butler playing it, and it does remind me of you. There's a singularity. There's to the way he performs, an interiority which I see in you when you're on the street as well, and that lengthy, improvised, the way you get into it. So perhaps it is an aesthetic thing.
Yeah, I think Ocean's just like it's.
I love Ocean. I play it about once or twice a year because it's just so uplifting.
Yeah, but it's just all it is. It's an open C. Like open C, and it's just like in the major progression, you know, and he just builds what John Butler does. That he's a very smart performer. He knows exactly how to lift and mold people with that tune.
Are you bothered about that?
How?
Chord progressions and kind of like.
No. I have the luxury of not being able, not really having the ability to worry about it. So
the way you play is very percussive. Tell us a bit about that.
Not all the way I play. I play. It's a very small section of what I play is percussive. You know,
tell us a bit about that.
But it's funny that people will come up to say, "Oh, you play guitar like that." It's like, Well,
Not only that,
like,
yeah.
I played 8 tunes in a set, and three of them were there. So like, but like the rest of them weren't, because of like it's always interesting. People want to just like immediately categorize you. That's what you do. You do tap guitar, and it's like nah, it's not that.
I think about this a lot, like coming from my kind of background and doing different things. You know, this people wanting you to put you in a box.
Yeah.
Even interviewing someone, I thought, you know, sent Malachy a list of questions, and after I'd sent them, I thought, no, you know what, he's too much of a free spirit to be kind of going down. So it's about not putting people, you know, not putting people in boxes. I don't really think we can put you in a box.
But even then, I don't think like I think it's always I think it's a pretty wise choice for anyone doing any kind of art to not be too specified, because all of a sudden, like, the audience will dig that hole with you, and then if you try and do anything outside of that, they don't like it. You know, that's not what you do, mate. You do this.
I think folk, especially, it's almost conservative in a sense. What I mean by that is I performed at a folk festival recently, and I improvised. And it was the wrong thing to do. You know, the audience just didn't really want that. They didn't expect that. They wanted a song. They wanted something akin to a 3.3 minute, you know, half-minute pop song.
Perhaps more conventional.
Yeah, they wanted it to fit within the folk tradition, canon and stuff. And what I offered wasn't really that. And I realised then that, you know, because I improvise a lot, and there is a place and a place not to improvise as well. And that probably wasn't the place for it there. Whereas in a lot of home recordings and stuff I do. But how does improvisation in general feature in what you do on the street?
Lots of it, but usually that's how I start. You know, that's the genesis of songs with me. Really, is that I'll have, you know, some kind of guitar kind of movement that just kind of sounds nice to my ears, and then I'll just kind of keep, like, you know, kind of that's forged on the street in a way. Like, it's just kind of beaten with, you know, like, I'll keep playing it and keep kind of just going over and over it until it kind of just starts fleshing out. I guess in the same way, like a blacksmith kind of heats a blade up and then, like, you know, brings it back to the anvil and just hammers it more and teases it more and stuff, and so eventually it's got the right kind of shape of a tune. So improvisation is a massive thing with me. Like, usually anytime I'm on the street, I, even with songs that I've recorded, I change the lyrics to all the time, just to see if does that sound better, or even
that's Dylan would do, you know.
Yeah, and not even just with, like, improvisation that, like, what you would expect, like improvisation with just words, or like perhaps even, like, you know, passages on the guitar, but just with, like, phrasing as well, and like and tempo and mood. You know, for instance, that tune Morning Light. Oh, excuse me. That tune Morning Light is sometimes it feels very right, like doing quite a sullen, like, you know, rendition of it, and other times then it feels really good just to actually have it. It's got a bit of kick to it, and it's to the point where it just antagonizes me on beyond fucking like, you know, because then you'll play it one way. Like yesterday, I played it quite really kind of minimally, and I was like, oh shit, that's how it is. That's meant to be how it is. And then, you know, probably today I'll get out there, I'll feel a little bit different. My voice will be sounding a little bit different, and I'll, you know, give it a bit more leather. And I was like, nah, it's got to be like that, you know. Yeah.
So you went down to Avignon. Just tell us a little bit about that. What's it like down there doing the festival? So you do it every year?
Every the last 2 years I've headed down to the south of France to a old medieval city called Avignon. Big old walled city in the south, about an hour and a half from the southern coast of France. And so for the month it's a massive theatre festival, really. So unlike the Edinburgh Fringe, which I also do in August, it's more specifically kind of theatre and maybe lightly comedy, as opposed to Edinburgh, which is what, as, like, you know, English speakers would describe as a fringe festival. So it's a much kind of bigger selection of stuff, like like, you know, the burlesque and all that. So but Avignon is, it's in the south of France, so pretty much every day is over 35 degrees. And because it's an old walled city, it's all fucking cement and everything like that. So, while if you're on the coast, 35 degrees isn't so bad, but because it's the way it is, it's just 35. It'll be 35 by 11 in the morning, and it'll be 34.8 by 10 o'clock.
So your morning light is dripping, kind of.
Yeah, and so I played this festival just gone. I played every single day of that festival.
I'm trying to envisage where do you play? Because I've been during the festival. Are you in that main?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And how does it go down with the French?
French fucking love it.
Do they?
Yeah. And I fucking love the French. It's I think I find in my personal opinion, continental Europeans seem to have a bit longer an attention span or something. I'm yet fully to really put my finger on it, but they are. I think I find they're a very quiet audience. They're a very attentive audience, and they want to hear. They're more interested in originality too. Here in the UK, people are just like, all right, Paul, would you play that tune, Sweet Home Alabama? Or they'll say, oi, can you play Elvis? And I say to them, mate, I don't really play other people's songs. It's like, what about Suspicious Minds? So you're not fucking listening to what I'm saying. You just want to hear something that you could just go home and listen to. You
can't do the jokes in French, though.
Yeah, I can.
Can you?
Yeah. And even
do they get it?
Yeah, because I'll do the whole show in French.
You speak French?
No, I do the whole show in French. I have a very I just learn the lines,
Ah, that's really cool. Yeah, because I think that's another thing is your humour.
Yeah.
Very dry humour, and the crowd, they seem to wait, don't they?
Yeah. So the mechanism of humour is when you're on. Humour is an ability to establish authority and assertion with people. When someone's making jokes, it means they're very comfortable. And so if I've got a crowd around me and I'm making jokes about them, and especially at their expense, to show it's a very strong it's a very strong signal of authority to them that I'm very comfortable doing what I'm doing, and it also gives them the impression that they're kind of coming into my space. So that's that. And even then, if you make someone laugh, once you've made them laugh, then they are so much more open to any other emotion that you want to convey towards them. Which
I think you do. You drew me in, and many others and stuff. And it is an emotional experience actually watching you. At times you get very, you're very impassioned as a performer as well. And I was wondering, when you keep, you keep replaying the same songs, you tap into that each time. It never feels done, and kind of dusted. So you're working it again. You're bringing it to life again.
I think I'm quite lucky that a lot of people say they get tired of playing songs and stuff like that, and I never really get that tired of playing the songs that I've written, because I'm not really necessarily playing it for me. I'm playing it for those people. I want to give them I remember being much younger and going to shows, and every now and then the musicians that I'd see would just completely and entirely move me, and it was just the most incredible feeling to be given that. And all I ever all I wanted to do was just to be able to give that feeling to people, and it's I think I seek affirmation, I seek affirmation enough, and I'm a little bit driven to please, or I want to be liked enough to just do that. I can just in Avignon, it's very it's quite hard. It's quite hard work and stuff like that. But what's this bloke doing?
What's that?
He's got a balloon kit.
Oh, you've got to check. We've got to check for competitors in a sense. keep an eye
it's fucking cutthroat. Hey,
keep an eye out on the terrain because they're coming in hard and fast for Buchanan Street here, and then this is the pitch.
Yeah.
To have.
People often go like, they go, I wish I had your life, and it's just like, well, mate, to be honest, I choked out 2 fucking junkies last night trying to steal my shit. You know, like there's violence and stuff. Like when you're going hard on this thing, like violence is always an imminent threat. You know, you get other people who are very, very other very hard people who aren't really afraid of confrontation and anything like that, and they will try and
You've had a few run-ins, haven't you? So
constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. So it's just it's pretty you can't be, and that's what it is. I think what it is that with the busking thing, and you get a lot of people that try and come out and do it. They'll see myself. They'll see myself busking, and they'll be a much more accomplished musician than myself, much more kind of thing. But the thing about busking is it will really like in the usual sense, but they'll be much more knowledgeable about music or whatever kind of thing. But
but does that translate? Because we're not necessarily being drawn in by you because of the way you play. Your persona, how you play, it's a whole package. There's somebody who plays up there very traditional kind of classical guitar. It's very nice and everything. I pass it by, it's a nice thing to hear as you pass by. I don't stop, I don't stand and watch for why is that, so it is a personal thing as well, isn't it, that you're passing on.
But yeah, it's it takes a little bit more than and I think that's with the the folk thing and stuff. Is this it sound? Yeah, I think it's just that I know a lot of the time folk music. I think I have a theory that people look like the music that they play. And a lot of the time. Their physiology.
What kind of music would I play then?
I think you would. Well, I kind of already know in a way. I think you'd be quite you'd do a lot of unresolved chords. You'd and it'd be folk, but it'd be quite it'd be very contemporary, and it'd be not necessarily always conventional either in that way. It'd be a bit more of a performance art aspect to it, I think. Anyway.
Okay, not going to be pinned down.
Well, it's I guess, but if I see another busker rock up, I'll know exactly what they're doing. Usually because I'll have a little bit of a cheeky look at their equipment and stuff like that, and I know just how serious they are, or what it is that they'll be doing. Not just from the shape of their instrument case,
Yeah, we were talking a bit about busking, the romantic. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I think the word to busk, is it in French or Spanish? Spanish means to seek, to search, to seek. So you are a seeker. I don't know. This romantic sort of notion of busking that we have, we're not doing it. If you're doing it, obviously it's a hard day-to-day thing. But how do you see that? Is there, especially when we're thinking about payment, card tapping, and etc.
I think first of all, I don't think it's that hard.
What, busking?
Busking, no.
Yeah.
I've had jobs making roads in 50 degrees Celsius heat. I've had jobs laying roof tiles, laying bricks, doing that's hard work. Sitting down and playing songs is not hard work. Perhaps you could argue the hard work occurs outside of that, constantly dealing with red tape, bureaucracy, and things like and fighting people, and and stuff like all that outside thing. The actual on the street thing, it's not hard. You just sit there and you play songs, but the romanticism that comes from it. So there's an imagery. I guess I play upon an imagery in our Western culture and perhaps in Eastern culture too. I wouldn't be so familiar with it, but of the drifter, of the itinerant musician, of the hobo kind of thing, that kind of style thing, which is which was a lot more kind of dominant. I guess it kind of came from in the Great Depression in the States, and I guess it was a bit of a depression here too, that people would just move around looking for work, and it was just so many people slept rough and stuff. It was just so accepted to, just kind of like trundle along, skipping cities, skipping towns, and hopping the trains, etc., etc., etc. So I play upon that too, and I think people love to see that in a way, and because it agrees with their image of that person. It just kind of like floats about, and then especially with the busking thing, considering that I sell my wares kind of thing, and then I move on, and of course then, but the most romantic part though of that is, it's not perhaps, if you think about it, it's not perhaps what I'm putting out myself, it's how people receive you. Okay, and most of the people that will be listening to you will know very little about that kind of lifestyle, or perhaps not know very little, but just have it seem quite foreign. To constantly be moving, because perhaps they're always in the same city. Perhaps they're on holiday and they're getting a slight taste of that kind of thing, and then they see someone who perhaps is living at a lot more kind of, I guess, a lot more devoted to it. I don't know what kind of word to use there, but
well, they may be on the lunch break as well, and they hate their job, and they see you doing that. So you're at the same time, and you're an inspiration. They're looking at you possibly, and I might be projecting, but thinking.
Well, that's exactly what they're doing. They're projecting exactly what they want on top of you, and now what they think is they think that you're this kind of just like happy, and kind of, it's going to change cities now. You're not. They don't know that you parked on that spot at 4 a.m. in the morning to pull your gear out.
No.
That you're putting in more or less a 20-hour day on that spot. Yeah. Which.
You just appear. You just
materialise.
Exactly, and then you disappear.
Exactly, and then you vanish into thin air, and so that's the romance of it. And then again, once they see you, if they like you, they put the money, and there's romance in the whole experience of giving someone money. But once again, the romance is the feeling that they feel after donating, after giving that, or picking up a record. It's just, they bought it in such a fun little way. That's really kind of not around that much anymore in our society. And it's very
well, it's the antithesis of online shopping, isn't it?
I don't know, because you can buy it online.
Yeah, but buying it from you and actually showing you that we want to buy your CD. We want that. I mean, it's a very different like kind of like transaction in a way, as opposed to, because it's like most people now, I guess, with what they buy is they have a thought in, with the record's 10 quid, anything about 10 quid, it's just like you probably have the thought that morning or the night before, going, oh, I need to get this tomorrow. Whereas, rocking, kind of just on your lunch break, kind of then hearing some music and going, oh, I'd like to listen to that again, or I'd really enjoyed that performance, I want to show this person that I like that music or something, Yeah. Tell us about your nails.
So on my right hand, I have acrylic fingernails, and now
a lovely shade of noir.
Yeah.
Does it change?
Oh, this woman's bloody crying. There's nice little.
You see it all.
Yeah.
You've got like a vantage point because the van is quite a big van, isn't it?
Yes.
What weird.
Say again?
What are we in?
We're actually in a 2008 Renault Traffic.
Renault Traffic. So we've got pretty high
factory Renault shit red colour.
We've got like a sort of thoroughfare of people looking quite miserable going into
in our
work.
own little living terrarium.
It's lovely and warm.
Yeah.
So nails, yeah. So on your left hand.
Oh, see this bloke here. This guy in a
getting out of answering the question about his nails.
No, you see, I just want to give you a little quick thing here.
Go on.
With his magazine rolled up, he sniffs that kind of fuel. Okay.
Where am I looking?
He's just this bloke walking down.
Oh yeah,
here.
yeah.
So he's got a little can. I'm not sure. It's some kind of like an RP7 or a WD-40, like a lubricant thing that he inhales, kind of thing. And he's ridiculous. He's just.
Yeah, you must see the same faces. Yeah.
He's just fucking. Hang on, I'm gonna go fuck that. I've punched him out 4 or 5 times. Hey. Fucking idiot.
So the
nails
are not just aesthetic.
No. So the slide guitar that I play, okay, the strings are exceptional. So the gauge of steel on those strings are very, very thick. Okay.
Looks painful.
Yeah. Well, and now with everyone's natural nails have varying strengths. Mine are actually not so bad, to the point where I never really considered it because mine wouldn't really break that much when playing regular guitar. But of course,
mine do.
John Butler was the kind of was the impetus, the impetus of put the idea in my mind, kind of thing. And but yeah, so having the acrylic nails allows you to have the largest dynamic range possible. So you will see a lot of guitarists or banjoists and stuff like that put little metal claws on their fingers, kind of thing, metal picks, kind of thing. But I prefer the nails because it's a slightly warmer sound, kind of thing. You don't have to keep track of 5 little tiny things that help you play the guitar.
Yeah.
You know, trying to keep a fucking pick on you is hard enough. You know, let alone 5 picks. You know, but. So I can play as aggressively or as quietly as I can with these nails, right? And it just then allows me to, and it's I'll never not have them if I'm playing guitar, because I just find that it is the exact sound and the exact strength of sound and the exact range of mobility that I desire on my instrument. So you'll get them done. Usually, most serious nail joints will have at least 1 or 2 guitarist clients. You know. It's much more common in flamenco guitar to have them because they're very percussive and they're very aggressive too. There's a huge amount of stress that they put on their hands and classical guitarists as well. It's not really. I guess most guitarists wouldn't really. Most people are a little bit scared of it, you know. Like and if they do have it, it'll be natural, and they'll have a nude. You know, they'll have a nude polish, you know. Whereas I sometimes I'll have pink.
Yours are quite flamboyant, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, you know, and it's always a little bit. Well, the one where it gets people most is I'll be in the drive-through. Let's say I'll pick up a coffee or something like that, and you're on the right-hand side in a right-hand drive car, so you're right next to the window, and you'll be getting your change, and you put your hand out to get it, and they'll see your hand with the nails. Like, what the fuck is that? You know. And it's kind of funny though. Like I remember I was in a hardware shop, and this happens quite a lot with women. Only ever with women. I went to get my change. She goes, "Oh my god, you have nails in your hand." And I said, "Oh my god, I do." Wow. Who the fuck? When the fuck did that happen? And she turned around and she goes, "That's disgusting." And I said, "Why is it disgusting?" She said, "You have nails in your hand." I was like, "Yeah." Is it all right? Is that okay? Like, am I not allowed to have nails on my hand? And I think sometimes I think
maybe she was jealous.
No, it wasn't that. She was exceptionally sexist. You know, you know. And had the situation be reversed, you know, I would have got a fucking hashtag. I would have been on the Ellen DeGeneres show the next fucking day about and telling all my feelings about what had happened. You know. But yeah, I think a lot of the time the kind of character that I portray or the how people take me, and I guess that it doesn't really compute that I would have acrylic nails in my hand.
Yeah, so it's not fitting with her image of you. Do you think, when you think about...
Which I think it does.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty weird. I think it's quite obvious that I'm pretty fucking weird, But yeah.
Yeah, this thing about authenticity. Do you think people see you that way? I was thinking about singer-songwriters and just, going back to the 60s, confessional kind of era, as you said, Mitchell, James Taylor, thinking about that and what we expect of the singer-songwriter as a figure, as being this authentic, confessional type figure. Are your lyrics confessional?
Yes and no.
Are you storytelling? Do you see yourself as a storyteller?
Yes. Storyteller, yes. Not always confessional. I think if you limit yourself, like if I can only sing songs about my own fucking personal experience, then I'm just limiting myself to my own personal experience. It's just, and it's an interesting point, like, especially in the last kind of 5 years, you've seen this thing come out that, like, famous people kind of thing, it comes out, like, that, like, they've done something. I think Tiger Woods was like the first one, when that came out, that he was a bit of like, he had this other life kind of thing. I can remember when that came out. It's just that I couldn't understand how that was any of my business. And like people say, I'll never watch him play golf again. Oh, and especially with and it's an interesting point. Think about painters. Painters can depict the most goriest scenes, the most sexist scenes, the most whatever scenes that they can on the canvas, and no one thinks that's person's character.
Yeah.
Whereas if a musician talks about something, someone's rapping and they talk about gang violence and stuff, then they're a gangster. They can't just they're not afforded the same thing. It's
really they're not afforded a freedom there, are they? It's like
it's just like and so I find that if I was perhaps a fan of someone's music, and it came out that they perhaps weren't of sound character, or if they had done something bad, to be honest, that doesn't change how I feel about the music. I don't know that fucking person. I don't particularly want to know that person either. That music is mine. I think that when people listen to music, it's theirs.
Yeah, you're reminding me of I was reading Carly Simon's book, and she talks at one point about a relationship with James Taylor before they got divorced. And I've always had this, James Taylor going back to when I was 17 and I started listening to that kind of music. And I had this idea of James Taylor, and I didn't really want that idea to be shattered, I suppose. And then she talks about how abusive he was to her, in their relationship, and you see this whole other side. And then I had that conversation with myself that you were just bringing up, going back to, is it the artist, is it the art, do we need to know, about their life?
Yeah, because the James Taylor that you're listening to is not, hey, that's like, if someone's doing that, it's not nice, it's horrible, but and I can see perhaps by kind of, by listening to that person's music, you're supporting that behaviour, or but I just don't feel as though it's not. I've never felt at all concerned about who that person was. To be but it's another thing with me is I don't have a massive desire to see musicians that I like live either.
Why is that?
Because I find that music for me is I've always been much more a fan of music and listening and digesting music than I have at playing it. It's just something that buying a new record and putting it on and thinking about all the different frequencies and all the different all the different words and the music, the instruments they've used and how it makes me feel. I've always just kind of felt that was it, and I've never really been able to. It's rare that I'm able to feel like that in a live setting. It's always too like full of distraction or something like that, or you know, I've always seemed to have a much nicer, like for instance, if I was listening to Pink Floyd, I wouldn't really have a whole lot of desire to see that live. It's a very The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon, two very records I've consistently listened to for quite some time now. But I just don't feel as though I'd like, you know, if I had the opportunity, but I wouldn't seek it out because I don't think you could get the same feeling. You know, like you're being with like 20,000 people that would be chasing that same feeling, and I don't think anyone ever really gets that from that experience. If it's a room full of 300 people, then I think that'd be very different.
Yeah, I think when Dylan on his last tour, he played the Hacienda, did some London gigs, didn't he? And a couple of friends went, and you know, people say he can't even hold a note now. You know, he can't even. But if you had this really, like, if you hold him there, you know, and then you go and see him, and then it's shit.
I don't think it's shit, but it's just like because you're listening to these records, it's that person singing to you. In a high fidelity, on a high fidelity system kind of thing, in your own little environment, exactly when you want that person to, exactly when the time is right, the temperature is right, the lighting is right, and everything like that. And then you go to a gig and it's just not like that, you know. And it's just and hey, fair enough. Sometimes like the planets can align or whatever you feel like, you know, and they're that exceptional of a musician, and they've, you know, that they can construct that feeling no matter what. But I don't ever feel the
Are there any songs that you go back to? You know, I'm thinking, you know, in my life there are certain records or that I listen to again and again. And do you have a relationship with what kind of music has sort of shaped your narrative? You know,
there's quite a number of ones. Zeppelin 1.
Yeah.
Most of Zeppelin, but particularly Zeppelin 1, because I think there's just there is an immense heaving of emotion and energy in that short little record that there's just, like, it just wallops me every single time. It's just I could never the Blue out Joni Mitchell Blue, and actually pretty much more or less all of her records, to be honest.
And what is it about Joni Mitchell? Because she's obviously a major songwriter. It's
fucking heartbreaking, hey.
Yeah. she has this capacity to put herself... to take on the character of the song that she's singing. So she's a performer that I think goes in and out of character. You know, when she's telling these stories, there's like a fluid sense of identity there, like she's becoming a character and then she'll change song. I remember listening to Blue when I was doing my art A-level. I was doing it in the garage at home, and I had Blue on, and it just, you know, every day after school, just painting and listening to that album, I thought, this is so sad. You know, why am I relating so much to this? I didn't think I'd really been through those emotions at that point, but she tapped into
even then, if you think about it, like, you know, sadness and heartbreak and stuff are all purely qualitative feelings. So the hardest heartbreak that you've felt, whether you're 14 years old and, you know, it's not like, you know, you've had, like, you didn't get what you wanted at Christmas or something like that, or just some, like, a relatively minor life, you know, like, you know, happenstance kind of thing, like, compared to, like, you know, but if you're 14 years old and that's all you've got to base on, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And hearing a song about heartbreak, it's like, oh my god, I know exactly what that feels like, you know, like, because of that thing that happened to you. And it's the same if say you're 65, 68 years old or so, and you've lost your spouse of 40 years. That's the worst heartbreak you've felt. So it's all, in that way, it's perspective kind of thing. So it resonates, you know, for argument, you know, if you really want to argue about it, you can't actually say that was more heartbreak than anything else, because, like I said, it's entirely qualitative. So I think that's why songs particularly about that emotion, and the same with happiness and love and lust and all that kind of thing, will have that same effect, because people take that and they go, yes, that's exactly what I felt.
There's something about Plant, you know, at that time as well. You're talking about the first Led Zepp album, that reminds me of Patti Smith when I first heard Horses, and I was just absolutely blown away by this stream of consciousness. I mean, Cale knew that she had a real talent for improvisation and really tapped into that, and exploiting that in a sense as well. But there's something about Plant and Patti Smith that I think there is an incantation, you know, that it's almost like a spell. There's something that they're doing that I do think that. I think it's like, can songs be spells in a sense, you know?
Yeah, entirely.
We come under them.
I think with Plant, the way he I think he, even without that conviction that he's feeling when at that point in time, when they were like, I think they're like 20 years old, they're 20 years old or something like that, you know. But even if he wasn't, like, you know, he's still got a magnificent voice. But that's what it is he's just so in that thing, you know, like he's so convicted of that, you know.
It's like self-possession, though. I find it very attractive.
Like, yes, of course, it's exceptionally sexy. That's really, I think, the main emotion that I feel whenever I'm listening to that record. But there's there's a lot of records. Paul Brady is a musician from Northern Ireland. Not from Northern Ireland. Sorry, from Donegal, in the north of Ireland, but not in Northern Ireland. And he was quite big a little bit later than kind of toward starting up, I guess. I'm sure more so the 70s, but in that similar folk singer-songwriter vein, but taking a lot of kind of traditional Irish kind of notions and using that with that similar kind of confessional folk singer-songwriter. And he does a wonderful tune. I'm actually not sure if it is actually his or not, but it's called The Lakes of Pontchartrain. And there's a couple other ones, and my parents would listen to that quite a lot. When I was growing up, it was just a record that would be on during bath time. Van Morrison, just more like just. We never really had a specific. I think my parents had a greatest hits of his. Yeah. Then Thin Lizzy, Whiskey in the Jar is just the song that ties me to my father. Always, just I think that was like the period of music that my old man kind of came up on, and Thin Lizzy, I guess, were Irish as well. So.
And is it your mum and dad, the Celtic, the Irish connection there? Tell us a bit about that.
So my parents met in Ireland. My mother is from Belfast. My father is from the backwaters of Ireland. Really, a place called County Meath.
And have you been to County Meath?
Yes.
What was it? Did you busk in County Meath? For your dad?
I think if anyone's listening that's been in County Meath, they know exactly. You know what, County Meath.
Do you have a ready-made audience?
You know what, you could in Kells and Navan, I think you could, but like it's.
Is there a high street?
Meath is quite a big place, and because it's just outside, it's just inland of Dublin, so it's quite a populous place. It is, but it's still steeped in that kind of rural attitude, you know. But none of my so they were together. Mum was a nurse in the Royal Hospital in Belfast, and basically there was a big shortage of nurses in Australia at the time, and so rather than pay the Australian nurses more and make it more attractive for more people to study nursing in Australia, Australian government went, nah, fuck it, we'll just head on over to Ireland, England, Scotland and Wales and say, who the fuck wants to come to Australia? And so at the time, unemployment in Ireland was something like 17%, you know, and in the height of the global financial crisis in 2008, I think the worst it got was 9.
Right.
You know, so it was dire. Like mum and dad, they'll say like the lines to the Australian Canadian, especially the Australian Canadian embassy, were around the block every day. So then there was this seminar being held at the hospital. Mum went along to it, Aussie government said basically, if you sign here, within 2 weeks you've got yourself a plane ticket for you and your partner, your plus one, out to Australia. You've got 6 months free accommodation. You've got a job waiting for you right then and there. After like 2 weeks of holiday or something like that to adjust. You know, and automatic citizenship for you and your partner, automatic permanent residency. You know, just done. Like lifting the rope out, letting you VIP entrance. Now, if you think about that, like at the time, the waiting list was like 6 years to get into Australia. So it was just like that was, you know, to think like the likes of that happen now never happened, never. But yeah, so then they kind of knocked about Australia for a while. Went back and forth at the time. They weren't at all rich, but at the time, the pound was like £1 was $3 Aussie. It was like going to Thailand nearly. So they went back and forth a bit. I lived. My brother ended up being. I have a younger brother who ended up being born in Northern Ireland. But my older sister, and myself were born in Australia. And it comes with it's an interesting thing when you are born, when you grow up in a place that your parents aren't from. Like, because you don't really feel like, I never really felt that Australian. You know, because my parents weren't from there, but I never really felt that Irish because I didn't, you know. When I was younger, I had a kind of weird mixed accent kind of thing, and it just, I didn't really feel like I particularly belonged either side. And so the identity thing is interesting, you know, and it's something that if you speak to folk, you know, a lot of the time who have that, it's a very they know what's kind of, there's like, I feel that, like, you know, and it's peculiar because I come across as quite Australian, you know, in a lot of the time, and people are quite like a bit, you know, they have no idea that, you know, I'm first, well, like the majority of most Australians, I'm first generation, really. But yeah, so none of them were musical. My mother, even the songs that she knows from, like, when she was a child, her favourite tunes, she still doesn't know the fucking lyrics to them, like, and makes her own up.
That's quite nice.
It just doesn't seem to be important that she doesn't know the lyrics to her favourite song. You know, the old man knows the lyrics to all the songs, like, you know, is very good at memorising that, but cannot fucking hold a check.
He must be quite in awe of you, then.
It's dire how
did I produce that?
How his sense of his an intelligent man, don't get me wrong, but the lack of pitch reference that man has is incredible. The songs that he's been listening to for so long and still is crazy. But no, neither of them at all musical.
Where do you think it comes from then?
I wouldn't necessarily describe myself as that musical either. What I think that I am is I would say I'm quite a strong performer, and I'm quite comfortable with people, and I really enjoy being performed to. I really adore the whole ceremony of a human telling a story to other humans, or singing a song to other humans. I really love that. And
there's something ritualistic about it.
Yeah,
as well, isn't there?
like the idea of, you know, and it was and I would notice it, like, you know, when my parents would have like other friends over, other Irish folk, they would get together and they would sing songs and stuff, and I just found it was just so wonderful. You know, and sometimes, you know, depending if you're in Ireland there, and you'll be out at the pub, and you head back to it, like you meet some folk at the pub, you head back to their place, back to their gaff after the pub, and they get the instruments out and they're playing tunes for everyone. That was what originally that was all that I wanted to be able to do. I picked up guitar quite late, when I was about 17 or so. and I just, I'd always had an interest in it. Always loved guitar. Always thought it was so fucking cool. But I just wanted to be able to be the person at the party that could play the songs that everyone else could sing along to. That was it. That's all it really was.
So you want into that, you got that drive to create, or not, maybe create's the wrong word, but elicit that emotion in your audience.
Yeah, and just and help the party along, kind of thing, in that way, and just.
And John Berger, in that Notes About Song in Confabulations in 2016, is talking to this singer. And he just says that songs are like rivers, and I just thought that was a really lovely metaphor. That the song is wanting to go somewhere. It wants, you talk about the connection with the audience there, but that songs are different to every other art form in the sense that they lean forward, they are directional. That they want an audience. They're looking for a body, and I just thought that's really beautiful. That this is why we come back to song.
Yep, I agree with that. No, I think it's always kind of there's always just been that. It's never been for me personally. It's never really been to be like a pop star or anything like that. It was honestly, it was just like I just wanted to play. I just wanted to play songs, people. When I started that, I was just too shit to learn. I was too shit to. I remember trying. This is really embarrassing, but I remember trying to learn. I remember trying to learn Wonderwall, and I fucking couldn't.
I remember trying to turn off Wonderwall.
Yeah, I remember trying to learn that song because, at the time, it wasn't as naff as it is now, I guess. But
it was very catchy, though. I mean, it was.
Everyone could play.
Everyone was like, surely I can play this.
Yeah. And everyone else seemed who was on guitar seemed to be able to fucking play it. And I remember trying to learn it, and because I'm left-handed, but I learned to play right-handed because I don't really feel as though there's that much of a difference. Because when you start guitar, you're shit with your left hand on the fretboard and you're shit with your right hand on the fretboard. But my less dominant hand, my right hand, is my rhythm hand in a way. So my rhythm did suffer, and I have a pretty mediocre sense of rhythm anyway. But yeah, and so Wonderwall is all rhythm, but I just remember getting quite upset with myself that I I was unable to fucking play it, and and I was like, well, what fucking hope do you have ever been any good on this instrument if you can't fucking play this song? So I gave up.
Spur you on.
I fucking gave up. I gave up, and I was like, fuck this, But then I did kind of just humming around on it and playing little things, And so then I just kind of I had two songs, not even fucking songs. They were just probably 3-minute pieces of chords that I'd found by just tuning the guitar a little bit differently, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go busking with these things. And
we only need 3 chords.
Yeah, well, I didn't know what that was at the time, not to say that I know now either. But so I went busking. There was something, I can't remember what put it in my head about busking, but there was just I had it. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be on this. I wanted to go busking. I don't particularly recall seeing anyone do it or anything like that. It's something in my mind, and so I went and I was working. Doing this shitty fucking job. I was doing road work, pouring asphalt in 50 degrees, and the asphalt is 300, usually about 300 degrees to keep it.
Do they get? I mean, how do they do that in Australia? Under that kind of temperature.
Yeah. I know. Fucking
That's
sucks.
work.
Anyway, it was just real hot, and my boss was an absolute cunt. And so I thought, nah, fuck this, I'm out. It was super hot that day, and he wasn't letting us have any more breaks than usual. We had a half-hour break the whole day for lunch, and that was just about enough time to eat as much food as you could to continue the energy that you needed to work the rest of the 6 hour, like the remaining 6 hours of the 12-hour shift you were doing. And I thought, no, fuck this. And I was like quite far. I was in Perth at the time, in southwest of Western Australia, a big city, and quite far out. And I drove all the way in. To the city, and I had my guitar in my panel van, and I pulled that out, and I got a milk crate from down the alley. A milk crate is kind of like a foot by foot square plastic thing that you carry the milk cartons in. You don't really get them here. They're wide and flat, whereas they're like a perfect little safety step or stool or smoko brake kind of thing. And I got one of them out, and I sat down and I started playing my guitar. And I think in like the 2 hours that I played just these two little songs, and I think I made about $30. At the time, I was getting paid quite well with the, because you're working hard, and so if you're on about $40 an hour or so, it was real hard work. But I just thought that I was the world's richest man. After I had sat down, I had not lifted a finger in manual task, and I looked, and it was in my guitar case, and there was all these gold coins in there, and I just thought, I was almost drunk with the idea. Like I still remember just how you could have given me $1 million the next day, and I wouldn't have felt the same way as I did about that $30 and something that I had. And basically, then from then I was like, fuck the job, fuck getting any work. I'm just going to do this, because I could just live and I was sleeping in my car anyway, so I never paid rent. So I was like, that's enough for food, and then I don't have to, and so it just kind of.
And here you are.
I got mildly obsessed. I still am, about and busking especially. There's just so. I'm not too sure what it is about it, but I could just go on about busking and the collision of psychology and music and performance and romance and fun that it represents to me, and it's just
and you're in this kind of your own zone, aren't you?
Yeah,
when
you
you're
are entirely your own man.
And you do have this not to say bubble, but there's this energy, there around you, I think, as well, that comes out. And, it's so you're in Glasgow now, and then you're going to be, doing stereo, and then where are you off to next? Before you go back?
Next will be Belfast.
Yeah. Is it good over there?
Belfast is wonderful.
Is it? Yeah. There's a special place in my heart in Scotland and in Ireland too, particularly Northern Ireland. I'm banned from Dublin. Why is that?
I was living there for a while, and then they really tightened up the rules in regards to busking, and then
Why did they do that there?
Because what happens is we have to kind of shoot off this. But, we'll just keep talking while I drive. So what's happening around the world is and this is people that busk's fault just as much as it is our society. Is that amplification technology has gotten a lot easier to work out and play on the street. You get to see it with all the karaoke cowboys that come out now.
Yeah, we're talking about that.
And
we're thinking a bit about Bluetooth and the impact of Bluetooth. I saw this guy the other day. He was on Buchanan Street. We're just going to move along the street a little bit, and he got an accordion, and it sounded really good what was coming out of his amp. When I got close to him, I saw that he couldn't even play the accordion. His fingers weren't even on the on the accordion, and he looked at me a little bit shiftily. But I thought, what, this really isn't on. And that's Bluetooth. But also it's super convenient if you're buying a Fishman mini charge or whatever, and you've got Bluetooth to be able to play along to stuff. So I do get it. But
there's the council boys trying to come in to
you've got to avoid the council boys. Where do we go then? Left or right?
We'll be heading left. We're just chucking out.
Are you just doing it? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to get chucked out somewhere along the way.
You can jump to the car park if you want.
Okay, let's do that.
There's no consequence to me.
So you're going to be off to Belfast, and then obviously we've got the chance to come and see you at Stereo on the 20th, is it?
Yeah.
You can buy tickets. Where can we get tickets?
If you jump on to the link to the tickets, if you basically Google Malachy, Malachy, and a website called Try Booking, you'll find the tickets from there. trybooking.co.uk/M for Malta, W for Washington, and K for Kilo. Or if you go onto Instagram and you search Malachy, you'll find it there. If you go onto Facebook, you search Malachy, you'll find it there too.
Okay, and then off to Belfast, and then back off to Australia.
I'll be in Belfast for like maybe 10 days or so.
Yeah.
And then fucking idiot with that fucking flute.
I guess you don't play flute.
No, I like flute, but he just goes around playing to little kids, you know, like it's a bit creepy, you know.
Yeah. So I'm getting to see how the other half live, actually driving around central Glasgow, because I don't drive, so it's pretty nice.
It's just one ways everywhere.
Yeah. So Belfast 10 days, and then.
Yep. So Belfast, 2 weeks, then back here. Further, then I'll be down like further south in England.
Yeah. Do you do London?
Not really.
Pretty tough one, yeah.
The problem with London is that there's a lot of English people that live there. Otherwise, wonderful place. Otherwise, but
surely they haven't got time to stop though. You should do the Square Mile, the financial district.
London is really good. So Leicester Square, Covent Garden,
Yeah.
Trafalgar Square, but it's the logistical issue of because I stay in my van and stuff like that. It's a pretty rough place too.
Yeah.
Like you'll have your windows smashed like pretty much any night of the week. As well as it's just like finding accommodation, and because I have like a lot of things and that, and it's very, very competitive as well. So yeah.
It's not as nice, and when you're up here, you can just get out into the. Do you ever drive out to the Highlands?
Yes.
Do stuff like that. Do you like that? I love it out there.
I have a couple of motorbikes.
Where'd you keep your bike?
There's a few of them around actually.
Okay.
There's one in Glasgow at the minute. There's one in Northern Ireland. There's one further south. There's one in France. There's 3 in Australia, I think. I was actually up in the Coastal 500 there not too long ago.
Oh, wonderful.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But,
have you ever done any busking up in the Highlands? Is it just not?
You can. Like I've played Ullapool.
Yeah.
Once or twice. But it's like the weather. Busking is just so dependent on weather. And if there's just one place that is just so unpredictable.
Isn't it?
It's the Highlands,
Yeah. I guess your weather app is like super important.
Well, that's why I live in a van. Is because if for instance there's a storm coming over the weekend in Glasgow, and you might not think it, but you do relatively well busking kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's very expensive if you miss especially a weekend. Weekdays something else will take importance,
Yeah.
But so with the van I can literally just turn the key on and drive as far south as I need to avoid the storm. Newcastle, Leeds, Birmingham.
All right, so you're also kind of hemisphere hopping, so you're going back for the warm weather in Australia. Do you do it like that?
Yeah. So usually about 15th of December or so, because depending on how it seems to change every year how quickly the winter comes in. I remember being here in 2015, and like by November it was just like you couldn't be here, like you couldn't play on the street, like I just couldn't get and not because I was cold myself, but because I literally could not get any feeling into my hands.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, was it because I was freezing the other day, and I thought, do you ever get frozen fingers?
Yes, all the time.
Because they've got to be so mobile, haven't they?
Well, not when you play my songs. They're pretty simple.
Yeah.
So God knows where this is taking us. They've just recently blocked off a road. They've turned it into a bus lane now, so like that's basically added like 2 miles onto my journey to the car park, which is only 400 metres down the road.
So going around the grid system, we're talking a bit about how Glasgow seems to have this like bit like US style grid system. It's to do with Macintosh. I don't really know much about that.
Yeah, so like it's just all these one ways and stuff. So we have to get on the fucking motorway to get all the way around.
So how many hours will you put in today? It's a gorgeous day. If I didn't say earlier, this is just completely blue sky. What do you reckon?
Today, playing wise, not a lot. Like because a set of mine is about an hour or so. So maybe I'll do 3 sets. Mm-hmm. The thing is with a day like today, well, like it's stunning. There's not a cloud in the sky, so the sun is really warm. But it means then that as soon as you're not in the sun, there's no kind of insulating layer of clouds to keep the city warm. So it'll cool down very, very quickly. Like today it was 1 degree. I think there was some frost further out of Glasgow.
Yeah.
So.
Do you know what these mountains are? Because I live by the harbour and I've got like a 7th floor studio, and when I look out on the balcony, I'm looking over to the east. No, the west. Sorry, the mountains are on the west. So come sunset, you can see the range. And I think somebody told me they were the Campsies, possibly, but I don't know. Do you know?
I wouldn't profess to know, actually, to be honest.
But it's
Campsies does ring a bell.
It's quite a lovely thing to be in the city, to be able to see the mountains as well. Malachy, it's been lovely to talk to you today, and I wish you a really good day on the job, and I'm sure that I will hear you again, see you again, and
it'd be likely you'll be inflicted with my music again if you're in Glasgow. Unfortunately, you're gonna probably.
I will be. Yeah. All right. Thank you.